What if you could buy a ticket to space, not as an astronaut, but as a tourist, a traveler, a human being leaving Earth for pleasure? We used to look up at the stars and dream. Now we look up and plan. By 2050, space tourism may no longer be science fiction. It could be a billion-dollar industry, taking civilians beyond the edge of Earth's sky. But the question is, who will actually afford it? And what price will humanity pay for leaving the planet behind? Imagine this, it's the year 2050. A luxury spacecraft named Celestis 1 hovers above Earth's atmosphere, 100 miles high. Inside, passengers sip synthetic champagne as the world spins silently below tickets. $500,000 per seat. Outside, the curve of the Earth glows blue and white, clouds swirling in slow motion. Inside, one of the passengers presses her hand to the window. She says it feels like God's view. A fade-out music, soft hum of engines. We've entered a new age, not of exploration, but of experience. Space as a destination. But how did we get here? How did the dream of walking among the stars become an industry of the wealthy? And how much will it cost when the stars are finally for sale? It started quietly. In the early 2000s, billionaires turned their eyes upward. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, names that once defined Earth's richest, began building vessels not for war but for wonder. SpaceX promised reusable rockets. Blue Origin built suborbital capsules. Virgin Galactic sold the idea of zero gravity minutes, a 6-minute escape from Earth's pole. At first, it seemed absurd. The price? $250,000 for a brief taste of space. But people lined up anyway. Celebrities, CEOs, dreamers. Because humanity doesn't just crave luxury, it craves transcendence. By 2030, the first hotels in orbit were under construction. Small rotating habitats where tourists could spend a night circling the Earth every 90 minutes. By 2040, the first lunar flyby tours were in testing. A week-long journey around the moon, then home. Each milestone lowered the price slightly, but not enough for everyone. Even in 2050, a ticket to orbit will remain one of the most expensive experiences in human history. The cost of space tourism isn't just about fuel, it's about physics. Every pound of weight launched into orbit demands energy. To escape Earth's gravity, a spacecraft must reach 500 miles per hour. That speed requires enormous fuel, precision engineering, and layers of safety systems. In 2025, launching a human to space cost nearly $60 million per seat on average. By 2050, advancements in reusability, lighter materials, and AI-guided systems could cut that by as much as 90%. But even then, one seat could still cost between $250,000 and $1 million. Because beyond the technology, there's the infrastructure. Orbital stations need food, water, oxygen recycling, temperature control. Every gram of toothpaste, every drop of coffee, every sheet of airlock glass costs thousands of dollars to lift. The experience itself, a luxury stay among the stars. 5-star views, zero-gravity spas. Holographic dining rooms where guests eat while the Milky Way glows beyond the window. But luxury in orbit comes with risk, and risk carries insurance. Every launch, every re-entry, every minute in microgravity adds to the price of survival. By 2050, several corporations will dominate the cosmic tourism market. SpaceX Interplanetary Travel, specializing in lunar orbits and Mars flybys. Blue Origin Horizons, offering low-orbit stays for the ultra-wealthy. Virgin Galactic retreats focused on short suborbital trips for celebrity clients. And Orbital Resorts International, a luxury hotel company managing the first privately owned station, Eden 1. Each company sells the same promise in different packaging: freedom from Earth. Their marketing is poetics. See the sunrise 16 times a day. Float beyond fear. Experience the overview effect, the moment your soul changes forever. But behind those taglines lie spreadsheets of staggering numbers. Because making space tourism safe, comfortable, and repeatable is one of the most expensive engineering challenges in history. In 2050, humanity won't just visit space, it will manage it. History repeats itself, only higher. In the early 20th century, air travel was a luxury only the rich could afford. A plane ticket in 1930 cost the modern equivalent of $5,000. By the 1970s, commercial flight became accessible to millions. Space will follow the same pattern, only slower. By 2050, space travel will still be a playground for the elite, but its foundation will be laid for future generations. Every billionaire's vacation funds research. Every rocket test paves the way for cheaper systems. Just as the Wright brothers once launched the dream of flight with wood and cloth, SpaceX and others have lit the engines of the next revolution. Tourism beyond gravity. But here's the catch: airplanes land easily. Spacecraft don't. Every trip into orbit is a calculated risk, and even the smallest failure can be catastrophic. So let's break it down. How much does it really cost to go to space in 2050? Fuel, roughly $200,000 per launch per person. Maintenance and safety, another $100,000. Crew, support and food systems, $52,000. Insurance and liability, $250,000. Luxury accommodations, variable up to $500,000. That's roughly a minimum of $500,000 per tourist. A 1-week orbital stay, around $0.2 million. A lunar flyby, $5 million. And a Mars journey, the crown jewel of cosmic travel, could cost $20 to $50 million per seat, even with 2050 technology. The cost isn't just in money, it's in energy, risk, and human endurance. Because space doesn't forgive mistakes. But for those who can afford it, what is it really like? Imagine drifting silently as the world rolls beneath you. The blue curve of the Earth wrapped in thin white clouds. No sound. No wind. Just hums of machines and the beat of your heart. Outside the window, the void. An ocean so deep it swallows light. You take a sip of water. The droplets hover in the air like glass beads. Every movement is slow, delicate, deliberate. Time feels different here. You are between worlds, no longer bound by the pull of Earth, yet not free among the stars. For many who've gone, it changes everything. Astronauts call it the overview effect. The realization that the borders, conflicts, and divisions of Earth vanish when seen from above. You don't see nations. You see one fragile home floating alone. Space tourism sells this feeling, not luxury, not status, perspective. But as humanity climbs higher, the questions grow deeper. Should we turn space into a playground for profit? Should the stars become a resort for the rich while billions remain grounded? By 2050, orbital pollution may become a crisis. Thousands of satellites, derelict parts, and debris already circle Earth, each one a bullet traveling 17,000 miles an hour. Every tourist rocket adds more risk, more fragments, more danger. And while companies promise sustainability, the truth is simple. Space tourism is a luxury Earth can barely afford. In this fragile balance between wonder and waste, humanity must decide whether space will be its next home or its next mistake. So music swells, then fades to silence, and yet the story doesn't end here. Because by 2050, technology will have evolved beyond what we can imagine. Reusable rockets will launch daily. Space hotels will orbit like cruise ships. And new propulsion systems, nuclear, plasma, perhaps even antimatter, could make the impossible affordable. So the question remains, when the next generation looks up, will space tourism be a privilege or a right? The real price of leaving Earth. The real price of leaving Earth isn't measured in dollars alone. It's measured in what we risk, what we change, and what we lose along the way. By 2050, space tourism will no longer be a headline. It will be a habit. The wealthy will casually mention their weekend in orbit. Corporations will hold meetings above the clouds. Influencers will broadcast live from space hotels. Humanity will have normalized the extraordinary. But the normalization of the extraordinary always comes with consequences. Because when something becomes routine, its wonder begins to fade, and its impact becomes invisible. The skies above Earth will grow busier than ever before. Thousands of commercial launches every year, ferrying cargo, satellites, and tourists. Each rocket leaving behind a faint signature in the atmosphere, tiny particles, unburned fuel, and heat that gradually accumulates. The same ambition that once lifted humanity higher now begins to weigh on the planet it's escaping. Scientists will warn that each launch releases tons of black carbon high into the stratosphere, where it lingers for years. The more we travel upward, the more we alter the delicate layers that protect life below. For the first time in history, pollution will not just rise into the sky, it will start there. Meanwhile, the demand will grow. Those who can afford it will not go just once. They will go again and again. Lunar tourism will replace Mediterranean cruises. Weightlessness will replace luxury yachts. And those still on Earth will watch, dreaming, saving, yearning for a chance to escape gravity even for a few minutes. The divide between those who can leave Earth and those who can't will deepen. It won't just be a class gap. It will be a cosmic one. The wealthiest 1% will literally rise above the rest of humanity. The dream of space, once shared by all, will belong to a few. The irony will be painful. For centuries, humanity looked up at the stars as a symbol of unity. Every civilization, from the Mayans to the Greeks, built stories around the night sky. The stars were something everyone could see, no matter how poor or powerful. But by 2050, that shared sky may become a private destination. And yet, Even as the cost remains high, innovation will begin to challenge exclusivity. Smaller nations, private startups, and research collectives will begin to develop their own low-cost launch systems. Nations in Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia will invest in micro, satellites, and orbital access. The monopoly of a few space giants will begin to fracture. Reusable rockets will evolve further, faster turnarounds, cheaper refueling, and higher safety margins. By 2050, a single spacecraft may be able to complete hundreds of trips before retirement. The costs per launch will drop dramatically, making suborbital travel accessible to the upper middle class. Not everyone, but more than before. A family vacation to the edge of space could, by then, cost $50,000. Still expensive, but not unreachable for those who once dreamed of it. The great hope will be that, like aviation, what begins as luxury may someday become normal. But technology has a way of outrunning ethics. With every improvement in propulsion, there will be a new question. Who controls space? Who cleans it? Who owns the orbit above Earth? By 2050, low Earth orbit will be crowded with debris. Thousands of fragments from past missions, obsolete satellites, and abandoned rocket stages will threaten every new launch. Even a small piece of debris traveling at orbital velocity can destroy a spacecraft. Each collision creates more fragments, feeding a growing chain reaction known as Kessler Syndrome. If this cascade becomes reality, space tourism could grind to a halt, not because of cost, but because of danger. The sky would be filled with invisible shrapnel, spinning endlessly around the planet. Humanity's greatest frontier would become a minefield of its own making. Governments and corporations will race to solve it. Space cleanup systems, robotic arms, magnetic nets, laser tethers will emerge as new industries, but they too will be costly. The price of safety will be added to every ticket, every launch, every experience. The dream of seeing Earth from above will always carry a hidden surcharge, the price of undoing our own impact. And still, humanity will look farther, beyond Earth orbit, beyond the moon, toward Mars. By mid-century, Mars flybys will become the ultimate symbol of wealth and adventure. A round-trip journey taking months, costing tens of millions. A journey not for necessity, but for prestige. Those who take it will become legends on Earth, humans who have truly left their planet behind. But behind the glamour will lie the stark reality of physics. Radiation exposure, psychological strain, the crushing isolation of space travel. The price of the ticket will include the risk of never returning home. Even so, humanity will keep reaching. Because the human story has always been a story of escape, from caves, from continents, from limits. Space tourism is just the next expression of that ancient urge to go beyond what we can see. But what happens when the unknown becomes a business? When exploration turns into entertainment? By 2050, the line between scientific mission and luxury travel will blur. Corporate partnerships will fund research stations in exchange for tourist access. Data collection will mix with leisure. The laboratory and the hotel will share the same orbit, and that raises a deeper question, one money cannot answer. When everything becomes an experience, what does exploration mean? If the first explorers of Earth's oceans had been selling tickets, would we have discovered anything at all? If curiosity becomes a product, does wonder lose its meaning? The dream of space once united humanity under a single sky. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, the world watched as one. There was no first American, only the first human. But 50 years later, the dream is fractured by wealth, politics, and power. Still, hope remains. Because every frontier, no matter how commercialized, begins with awe. For some, a trip to space may not just be a vacation. It may be a revelation. People will come back changed, moved by the sight of Earth hanging in silence. Some will devote their lives to protecting it. That may be the greatest gift of space tourism. Not escape, but perspective. The reminder that Earth is not endless, that it is fragile, small, and worth saving. And that's the paradox of 2050. The farther humanity travels from Earth, the more it will realize how much it depends on it. The cost of space tourism by 2050 will not just be measured in millions of dollars. It will be measured in meaning. What we value, what we protect, and what we risk losing. The technology may make the stars reachable, but the question will remain whether we deserve to reach them. The sky, once a symbol of mystery, will become a marketplace. But in that vast commerce between wonder and wealth, there will still be dreamers. Children watching the night sky, imagining their own journeys. Scientists designing engines that burn clean and fly safer. Teachers reminding their students that the stars are not a privilege, they are a shared inheritance. Perhaps one day, the price of space will no longer divide humanity. Perhaps by the next century, leaving Earth will cost no more than crossing an ocean. Until then, the cost of space tourism remains both a marvel and a warning, a glimpse of what happens when humanity's greatest dream collides with its oldest weakness, the urge to own what cannot be owned. So the question lingers, echoing beyond orbit: when space becomes just another destination, what happens to the meaning of home?